Constitutional Court judgment that spanking your children is illegal has left a lot of parents scratching their heads, while some are adamant that spankings are an essential part of parenting. Experts say that the warning signs of a dangerous spiral are there for all to see. Or to speak to us about what could be considered reasonable discipline and how physical punishment by parents is unconditional, we're joined in studio by Dr. Robert Nanima from the Dullah Omar Institute. Doctor, a good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been a contentious discussion that's been had in the country over the past few days. And you know, there's the argument made by the Concord that now spanking children, and the argument was spanking children is unconstitutional. Parents really struggling to wrap their heads around that. Explain what that actually means for the everyday parent.
Okay, first of all, thanks for having me here. It's good to look at where this all came from. The facts are that a father spanked his kid because the child was watching pornography. But the degree of spanking, he used fists, he kicked him, and when he went to court, his defense was that I'm using reasonable chastisement on this child. So that's without regard to what he did to his wife. So reasonable chastisement as a concept, it derives from common law. And under common law, parents have always had the duty to raise their kids, and courts more often than not, they don't go into that private sphere. But the problem is when do you strike the balance? Some things that are looked at, they look at the child. How old is the child? What's the sex of the child? What's the build-up of this child? Does the child understand what did the child do if this person is going to administer the beating, if we could call it that? What is he using? What's the degree of severity? Even if I'm using my hands, but if they have turned into fists, I'm not having simple spanks. That's something else. So it becomes hard to draw the line between what's reasonable and what's not reasonable.
I think the argument here is a lot of parents will argue that the distinction between a spanking and a beating is clear. Right? This is what the argument that you'll have from a lot of parents. Don't abuse your children, but give them a light spank on the buttock. The argument, I think, becomes how spanking my child violates my child's rights. That parents are really struggling with.
Yes.
So even that light spank, how does it violate my child's rights?
Just like I said, when you look at this defense of reasonable chastisement, it derives from the common law of assault. And the common law of assault is to protect a person's dignity, a person from being beaten, a person, so that his right and freedom as a person is respected. But when you're using the defense of spanking, you're simply saying, now we don't want common law to protect you. We want to use this defense to allow me to spank you. Perhaps if the facts were different, if it wasn't as severe as we had in the case at the High Court, perhaps the court would have arrived at a different engagement. But what I could say now in a nutshell is you can't use the defense of reasonable chastisement if your child brings you to court for spanking him or her.
Right.
So okay.
No, and I think that point is made. I want to move on and talk about, you know, as this conversation happens, what you will find is more and more children educated about their rights and even their responsibilities, not just from a constitutional point of view, but even some of the parts of the African Charter that we have ratified as a country and other countries as well on the continent. The importance of us as parents and as children being able to have that conversation around now rights and responsibilities in the household.
Yes, that's a valid question. The African Charter is the only regional instrument that provides for responsibilities of a child. These responsibilities, they are based on the evolving capacity of the child, the age of the child. The child should be able to appreciate what he or she is doing. So the parent should be able to see that. And then secondly, there are limits. If what you want the child to do is a violation of rights under the Charter, which is most of some of the rights that we have in our Bill of Rights, then you cannot expect a child to live up to those as responsibilities. And the committee is of the view, they have developed a general comment on this matter, and they're of the view that it's a two-way traffic. When you respect your child will respect you back. But if you expect your child not to respect you, you expect him to do whatever he's saying because you are dad, because you are mom, then there's a problem. But it comes down to, I think we should have a way of balancing it. I think it's something we should embrace, and moving forward look at other aspects such as positive parenting.
Well, this is what we're going to do, because I am out of time, but I really appreciate having you here. Dr. Robert Nanima, Children Rights Project, of course, he's with the Dullah Omar Institute. And this is what we're going to do. In about 30 minutes, we are going to speak to Venetia Berries, and we're going to talk about positive parenting, give you some of those alternatives as a parent that you are looking at. But thank you so much to Dr. Robert Nanima from the Dullah Omar Institute. We are